Okay, so this is asking us to write a two-column proof for this, and given certain information, we're going to prove that BA is congruent to ED. How are we going to do that? We could write down what's given to us, but if we mark it on the diagram, it's going to pop right out at you. And so let's do that first. It says that side BC is congruent to side EC. Okay? And it also says that side AC is congruent to side DC. It's funny, I kind of missed there. I'd like to cross them over. And that being true, we can immediately see, oh, we've got two sides. If we can get the included angle, we can have side angle side congruence here. And additionally, you should probably be able to see, wow, that's really easy because those angles are vertical angles. So we're going to be able to state that eventually, and then through side angle side have congruence. I say this at the start because it's kind of nice to know where we're going with this. And yeah, that's something that we can do. So actually, I'll leave those marked. And I won't mark the vertical angles yet because we haven't stated that. But we're going to start by stating what we know that's been given to us. So we can say, we can say 1. Sorry, I'm doing a bad job here. 1 side BC is congruent to side EC, and on the same step, because they have the same justification, side AC is congruent to side DC. And both of those have the justification of given information. We knew that at the start because they gave it to us. Okay? Terribly sorry. I've got a new stylus ordered, and I'm really hoping that it's going to up my game here as far as my handwriting and whatnot. So anyway, now what can we say? Well, let's say for number 2, let's actually establish these as vertical angles. And so I'm going to write over here the justification first, which is vertical angles. We actually have to name the angles, and this is what I wanted to get at, which is going to be the trick. We need to make sure that the vertices line up when we name it. Okay, so and because there's multiple angles coming off of C, we're trying to name 2 angles that come off of C, and we can't just say C for both of them because which one are we talking about? So what I want to do is I want to just kind of establish that we need to have the vertices line up, and so what we're going to do is we're going to say, for the one on the left, we're going to say start from B, which is at the far end from C, along this one with a single segment mark. So we can say B down to C, and then out the one that's got 2 segment marks to A. So angle BCA is congruent to, and then again, let's do it. We said B to C to A, down the one with 1 mark to C, and then down the one with 2 marks. So down the one with 1 mark, E to C, and then down the one with 2 marks to D. So ECD. Angle ECD. Okay? Great. We've established that. Now we can then say that the triangles are congruent through side angle side. What are the names of the triangles? That's the trick. We've got to keep these things all lined up. So we can do what we just did. B to C to A. Just like we named that angle, that can be the name of the triangle as well. So B to C to A is congruent to E to C to D. Triangle E to C to D. And because they're congruent, those triangles are congruent, now we know that all the corresponding parts of each will be congruent to the corresponding parts of the other one. So prove that BA is congruent to ED. Let's look at the names here. We've got BA, first letter to the last letter, is congruent to ED, first letter to the last letter. So we can say that. So we can write it as segment or side BA is congruent to, terribly sloppy, terrible. BA is congruent to ED. How do we know this? We know this because corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. And that's all we needed to write that proof. It seemed like a lot, but only because I'm so sloppy. But it's all pretty straightforward. You mark the congruent sides. You have the vertical angles are congruent, so you have side angle side congruence, and then all corresponding parts of these two congruent triangles will be congruent.